Hi, thank you for watching this recorded presentation on the draft community engagement goals and policies for the Envision Eugene Comprehensive Plan. I will refer to the Envision Eugene Comprehensive Plan as a comprehensive plan throughout the presentation. My name is Stuart Warren. I'm an associate planner on the Community Planning and Design team. Comprehensive Plan is one component of the Urban Growth Strategies project. This project is identifying the tools, actions, policies, and land needed for the next 20 years for living wage jobs and housing that everyone can afford. This presentation is one of a series of presentations on the comprehensive plan, and there are detailed instructions on how to provide your input at the end of the presentation. In this presentation, I'll provide a brief overview of what a comprehensive plan is. I'll also provide an overview of the draft goals and policies for the community engagement chapter, which is chapter 1 of the comprehensive plan. And lastly, I'll outline next steps and ways that you can provide feedback on the draft goals and policies. Let's talk briefly about what a comprehensive plan is. If you'd like to learn more, I encourage you to watch the recorded presentation on the comprehensive plan. It's posted on the project's Engage Eugene webpage, and the link to that page is on the current slide, in the video description, and will be at the end of the presentation as well. The comprehensive plan guides the city in its land use planning for future growth within the urban growth boundary. The Envision Eugene Community Vision describes Eugene's existing environmental, economic, and human context. It contains 7 pillars that express shared community values in Eugene and provide the foundation for which the city plans for growth. Each chapter has a series of goals that articulate the overarching aspirations of the community. They are broad statements that describe our hopes for the way our community will grow. These goals are being developed in response to years of community engagement through Envision Eugene and current needs and priorities that we are hearing from the community through ongoing community engagement activities. Each chapter also contains policies intended to help the city attain its goals. These policies will provide a consistent course of action and move the community towards attainment of its goals. Once adopted, the policies guide the work of the city manager and staff in formulating proposed changes to development regulations, long-range planning projects, and financial decisions. All right, let's dive deeper into the draft goals and policies for Chapter 1, Community Engagement. Before we do, I want to provide a quick disclaimer. These goals and policies are in draft form and are likely to change over the next year or so. Because of the number of policies, I'm also not going to go through every single one of them. But if you'd like to see all of them, the full draft goals and policies are posted on the comprehensive plan webpage. The link is on the bottom of the slide, in the video description below, and at the end of the presentation. I'd also like to encourage you to take the Chapter 1 survey and provide us your feedback. The survey contains the full set of draft goals and policies and opportunities for you to provide your input on them. The survey is posted on the project's Engage Eugene page. This draft chapter currently contains 3 goals and 16 policies. The chapter sets the goals and policies that guide the City of Eugene's community engagement efforts for our legislatively adopted planning processes that have the potential to create significant impacts on members of underserved community groups and significant impacts citywide. An example of a legislatively adopted planning process was the recent Middle Housing Code Amendment process that produced significant citywide impacts. First draft goal is on equitable and outcome-oriented community engagement. The goal language is plan and make available welcoming engagement opportunities across all phases of planning processes. Focus engagement efforts on planning with people from underserved community groups to inform and influence the development and outcomes of planning processes. Under this draft goal, there are currently 7 draft policies that help attain the goal of equitable and outcome-oriented community engagement. A few examples of draft policies include Welcome and Experience, which provides direction to planning staff to design and implement community engagement opportunities that create a welcoming environment that encourages broad participation and a sense of belonging. Another draft policy is titled Design for Equity, which guides the work of planning staff to prioritize the needs of people who will be most impacted by the planning process and have the least amount of power to influence it. Another policy is titled Demographic Diversity, which directs planning staff to work to increase participation from people from underserved community groups on boards, commissions, panels, and other city-sponsored entities. This section contains other draft policies like engaging young people and more. The second draft goal in the community engagement chapter is titled Accessible, Accountable, and Transparent Engagement Processes. The goal language reads, design welcoming processes that communicate how engagement will inform decision-making and clearly document feedback and outcomes. Design engagement opportunities that are universally accessible in terms of time, location, language, etc., to facilitate the sustained engagement of a representative cross-section of community members. To help realize this goal, staff have drafted 6 policies. The draft policies include community engagement plans, which contains a series of sub-policies that provide direction to staff about how community engagement plans should be used and developed, including how the community should be involved and how these plans are drafted. This policy will help increase transparency and effectiveness of community engagement plans in the future. Another policy is titled Multiple Opportunities and Formats, which directs staff to provide formal and informal engagement opportunities in all phases of legislatively adopted planning processes. Another policy is Outreach. This draft policy provides direction to staff to continue to assess the best ways to invite community members into engagement opportunities. Other draft policies in this section cover topics like Foundation for an Engaged Community, post-engagement evaluations, and documentation and feedback. The final draft goal of the chapter is titled Foster Healthy Dialogue. The goal is to maintain and build relationships with a broad network of community members and groups to foster healthy ongoing dialogue regarding community priorities and needs. This goal has 3 draft policies. They are Cultivating Partnerships and Relationships, which directs planning staff to partner with other city departments and divisions to develop and foster relationships with a broad range of community leaders and organizations. Another policy on community member compensation, which sets policy for compensating members of underserved community groups to help encourage their participation in legislatively adopted planning processes. And lastly, a policy on advisory panels, which provides planning staff some direction about when to use advisory panels and how those panels are structured. Our next steps for Chapter 1 include collecting community input on these draft goals and policies. We've designed a survey that is currently posted on the Project Engage Eugene page, and I encourage you to let us know what you think about these draft goals and policies. The survey link is at the end of the presentation, and the survey will be open until the end of July of 2025. I'd also like to encourage you to stay engaged on the Urban Growth Strategies page for other upcoming opportunities to provide input on the draft goals and policies. In 2025, staff will work with an equity advisory panel to make sure that these draft goals and policies reflect the needs and priorities of members of underserved community groups. And lastly, staff will then refine and draft goals and policies as appropriate and begin working with decision makers to incorporate their feedback. I encourage you to engage in the project by visiting the Project Engage Eugene page. We'll be posting videos like this one and surveys for each draft chapter that will be available until the end of July of 2025. You can get to the survey by scanning the QR code on the slide or by following the link in the video description or the one listed on the slide now. You can also learn more about the currently adopted comprehensive plan and view the draft chapters by visiting the Comp Plan webpage. That link is on the slide as well. And lastly, feel free to reach out to project staff with your questions, thoughts, and feedback by sending us an email. With that, I want to say thank you for watching this presentation and taking the time to learn more about the draft community engagement chapter of the Envision Eugene Comprehensive Plan.